Hello, my name is Gary, and I was raised in the Western United States, so I'm a native English speaker. I hope that you will enjoy this YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us.
IELTS writing samples. The graphs below show the percentage of men and women aged 60 to 64 who were employed in 4 countries in 1970 and 2000. The bar charts depict the workforce participation rates of men and women aged 60 to 64 in 4 countries in the years 1970 and 2000. In general, there was a decrease in the number of individuals aged 60 to 64 who were employed in 2000 compared to 1970. Additionally, it is evident that the participation rates of men consistently surpassed those of women in all 4 countries examined. In 1970, it is apparent that the United States had the highest proportions of employed males and females aged 60 to 64, standing at 86% and 76% respectively. Following closely were Indonesia with 84% for men and 65% for women, and Belgium with 79% for men and 63% for women. Japanese individuals in this age group ranked last, with 76% of men and 56% of women participating in the workforce. In 2000, Belgium witnessed significant declines in workforce participation for both men and women, becoming the country with the lowest proportions for both genders. Men accounted for only 52%, while women were merely at 8%, marking the largest gap of 44% between the genders. Meanwhile, men in the USA, Japan, and Indonesia all experienced reductions to 78%, 63%, and 74% respectively. For women, the percentages ranged from 45% to 50%.
The bar graphs illustrate the distribution of workforce participation among men and women aged 60 to 64 in 4 countries, comparing the years 1970 and 2000. Overall, there was a decline in the workforce participation of individuals aged 60 to 64 between 1970 and 2000. Moreover, it is notable that across the 4 specified countries, men consistently exhibited higher participation rates compared to women. In 1970, it's evident that the United States had the highest percentages of employed men and women aged 60 to 64, at 86% and 76% respectively. Following closely were Indonesia, with 84% for men and 65% for women, and Belgium with 79% for men and 63% for women. The lowest rates were observed in Japan, where 76% of men and 56% of women in this age group were part of the workforce. In 2000, Belgium experienced substantial decreases in the workforce participation for both men and women, resulting in the lowest proportions among the countries analyzed. Men comprised only 52%, while women were a mere 8%, marking a significant 44% gap between the genders. Meanwhile, men in the USA, Japan, and Indonesia all saw reductions to 78%, 63%, and 74% respectively. For women, the percentages ranged from 45% to 50%.
The graph below gives information about the percentage of people living in Australia who were born in Asia, the UK and other regions. The graph below presents data regarding the percentage of Australia's population originating from Asia, the UK and other geographical regions. Overall, there was a steady increase in the percentage of people across all three categories during the period. Furthermore, it's evident that the proportion of individuals from Britain experienced a downward trend, whereas the percentage of individuals from Asia and other regions exhibited an opposite pattern, showing an upward trend. In 1976, approximately 14% of Australians were born in the UK, a figure nearly 3 times higher than the percentage of those born in Asia. Over the subsequent 15 years, the proportion of UK-born Australians declined to 5%, while the number of those born in Asia steadily increased to approximately 15%. Meanwhile, the percentage of Australians born in other regions experienced significant fluctuations during this period, but ultimately rose to around 13% by 2011. The percentage of all Australians born abroad fluctuated over the 35-year period, starting at around 23% in 1976. It decreased to approximately 20% during the late 1990s, before rising back up to around 25% by 2011.
The graph below provides data on the proportion of Australia's population originating from Asia, the UK, and other regions. Throughout the period, there was a consistent increase in the percentage of people within all three categories. Notably, while the rate of British-born individuals declined, the proportions of individuals from Asia and other regions showed an opposite trend, steadily rising. In 1976, approximately 14% of Australians were born in the UK, nearly 3 times the proportion of those born in Asia. However, over the next 15 years, the percentage of UK-born Australians declined to 5%, while the number of Asian-born Australians steadily rose to around 15%. Meanwhile, the figures for Australians born in other regions fluctuated significantly during this period, but ultimately increased overall to around 13% by 2011. Over the 35-year period starting from 1976, the percentage of all Australians born abroad fluctuated. It began around 23% in 1976, decreased to approximately 20% during the late 1990s, then increased back up to around 25% in 2011.